All right, welcome everyone. This is Michael Forrester from KodeKloud, along with my co-teacher Sanjeev.
Hey, everyone.
We're here for episode 5 of billing and pricing. Pass it over, Sanjeev. Go for it, sir.
All right. So if we just want to share your screen, there we go. So I just wanted to start things off by letting you guys know that, we do have a special announcement at the end of this call. So you may already be familiar with the special announcement because we did this last week as well. So definitely stay tuned until the end if you want to be included in this week's special announcement. But just as a reminder, this is the final episode of a 5-part series. And so this series was intended to give you guys some exposure to our AWS Cloud Practitioner course, as well as provide some support and guidance for those looking to pursue the Cloud Practitioner certification. So last Thursday, we covered a variety of different AWS technologies like EC2, Lambda, and S3. Today, we're going to be focusing on billing and pricing, and we're going to be going over some of the different pricing models that AWS offers. And so, like I said, we're going to be talking about billing provides a support option. And as a reminder, like I said, this is the part series. So if you guys want to stay in touch, just go check out our YouTube channel. We do have monthly updates on a variety of different features and technologies. So we do updates on AWS, Kubernetes, as well as updates on the KodeKloud platform as well. So definitely make sure to subscribe so that you guys can get those updates as well. And as we stated before, the content we cover in this series, this is all part of our official Cloud Practitioner course. And so you should be seeing a QR code popping up right now. So if you guys scan that, that's going to take you to our course page. And at the moment, we are running a discount. So right now, you get a 40% discount on our yearly plan. And on top of that, if you use the code provided during this live stream, you'll get an additional 20% off of that. So this discount is on our subscription. So this would give you access to not just the Cloud Practitioner course. You'll get access to every single course on our platform. So it doesn't matter if you're trying to learn AWS, Kubernetes, Docker, Linux. It doesn't really matter. We have a course for all of the different DevOps related technologies. So whatever you're interested in learning, we've probably got a course for it. So definitely make sure to go check that out as well. And the last update that I have before I kick it off to Michael is even though we do encourage you guys to set up your own AWS account to get some hands-on experience, we do also have AWS Sandbox Playgrounds where you can actually test out a variety of different services all within your browser. So it's all integrated into our KodeKloud platform. So all you have to do is just select the specific environment that you want to set up, and you can play around with AWS without having to set up an AWS account or give AWS your credit card information. And so that's everything I wanted to go over. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Michael, and he's going to start going over billing-related topics within AWS.
Awesome. Thank you, Sanjeev. So, hey, just a reminder, because I see some questions coming in from a variety of sources, is that we will be having a QA session at the end to answer a couple of your questions, like is content updated regularly? What about the new exam? Things like that. So just stay tuned. We'll hopefully answer all your questions by the time we get here. And hi, welcome everybody. It is good to see you. So thank you for your activity on the channel. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the content that's included inside of the AWS Cloud Practitioner course, including things like the fundamentals of pricing, cost optimization, using elasticity, pricing models, and the free tier. Now, we've only got about maybe 20 minutes or so to talk about this. And, so just know that we're going to pick one of these sections and talk about it. But if you want the full course, obviously, Sanjeev just talked about its availability, including the discounts that are available for a subscription. So, we're going to give you a little bit of a teaser of what's included in this course. So with that being said, let's talk about general billing inside of AWS. We like to talk about these things in a variety of different allegories and possible metaphors. And so we often think about how we use or approach pricing in AWS. It's kind of like renting a car, right? How fast is the car? Is the car like a sports car? Is the car just kind of a generic economy car? How big is the car? Meaning, is it an SUV? Is it a truck? Or is it, again, more of an economy sized vehicle? And how many miles did you put on it? So we often like to talk about these things in the simplest terms, just to make sense. So for example, did you get a high-end Mercedes that maybe has a little bit more performance to it, or a Toyota? right? And so you might pay, and by the way, if you see any numbers on here, these are all made up. So please do not count these as like numbers that you should expect to see inside of your billing and pricing. One thing that I can assure you is that AWS does not test you about specific numbers as it relates to pricing. So don't go out there and memorize prices, because Amazon does not, AWS in particular, does not test you on things that can frequently change, and their prices do frequently change. Oftentimes they go down, but when they add new models, it might be just a different price altogether. So just a reminder for that. So the other thing is how big is the car? Is it a larger sedan or is it a smaller car, right? And that might be a little bit of an extra surcharge depending on the size of the vehicle. And then of course, there's an aspect of how long did you use it for, or how far did you, or how many times did you use it? Like there's this aspect of kind of duration and frequency of usage, which kind of is like how many miles, like how long did you keep it for? How far did you drive it? And so it's very similar to like renting a car in the sense of like, what kind of performance did you ask for? What was the size of the machine? Was it multiple processors? Was it a big disk? And where did you take it? What did you do with it? How long did you keep it for? Did you rent it for 4 days, or did you drive it for 4,000 kilometers? And so that, by the way, they might charge you for that kind of usage. And so when we break this down and we focus on, say, something like EC2 as an example, when we look at compute, one of the things is, you might ask for an R5 X large, which I think now at this point is a pretty old kind of RAM or memory focused instance type, right? These are things, by the way, you kind of generally learn inside of the Cloud Practitioner exam. And so we've got this EC2 virtual machine that we've requested. And again, remember that any numbers that we use are generally made up. It's like if this was a 4 CPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM machine, then that in a sense speaks to like how fast can it go, right? And I know that memory is more around storage, but you kind of get to the general idea of how much processing power, how fast can it go, versus Amazon's largest box, which is a 448 processor machine with 24 terabytes of RAM. Obviously, you're going to pay a lot more for that than you would say for a 4 CPU, 32 gig RAM, right? So, and then of course, then the storage is like, it's comparable to like, how big is it to a certain degree? It's like, did we ask for 16 terabytes of storage, which is typically the largest volume that you can get inside the variety of what they call EBS, the Elastic Block Store system? This is the storage subsystem that feeds the virtual machines hard drives. Or maybe you use instant storage, which is generally not recommended, but it's the local storage that you find attached to the host machines inside of AWS. And then you can see the 1,000 gigabytes of data. Like maybe that is the mileage. Like you decided that you were going to drive it 1,000 gigabytes, a la 4,000 miles. And, this is how you figure out the general dimensions of billing. So this is how it works, whether you're using infrastructure as a service, whether you're using a platform as a service, or more of the software as a service kind of types. For most of us, it's going to be things like virtual machines. It's going to be things like serverless a la Lambda. It's going to be RDS, your relational database service. And it's going to have these dimensions to it. Is, how much compute did you ask for? What was the size of storage? And by the way, compute and memory typically go hand in hand. And then how much network throughput did you ask for? So when you're identifying the size of your virtual machines, or even the size of your Lambda functions, you're usually identifying these general characteristics. Now, that being said, right, there's another aspect of pricing, which is how long did you keep it for and how many times did you use it? So it's kind of like two different distinctions here. For example, if you ask for a virtual machine that has 4 CPUs and 32 gigs of RAM, and you run that for 4 hours, you've kept that virtual machine kind of, in a sense, in your possession for 4 hours. So you're going to get charged for the duration that you kept that virtual machine for, even if you didn't use it. Let's say you started that virtual machine and you had 0% utilization because you didn't do anything with it, but you kept it for 4 hours. You're going to pay for the duration of that machine that you asked for. But let's say that you then switch over to something like Lambda, where Lambda is based on the number of runs. How many times did you ask that Lambda code to run for? Did you ask it to run 1,000 times? Did you ask it to run 1,000,000 times? And at the size that you asked for, Did it run 1 million? Did it run 1,000? Did it run 10,000? And so you pay for each of those requests at the size. So in addition to the whole like compute and storage and networking kind of components, there's also this time factor, meaning how long did you keep it for? How long did you run for? And how many invocations did you have? And so, and by the way, just know that we are simplifying, but it can get more complex than that. But those are the general dimensions of billing inside AWS. Now, we also talked, by the way, is like, don't forget the free tier. You heard Sanjeev earlier. He said, we encourage you to actually get your own account and manage that inside of AWS, especially when you're learning AWS, because you're going to get exposed to things that your corporation or business may not give you access to. Plus, it allows you to be well-rounded in understanding how AWS functions. Now, so don't forget that AWS has a free tier, and there's a number of different pieces to this free tier, such as free trials. There's a bunch of services that are free for 12 months, and there's a bunch of services that are just free forever for the lifetime of that account. Know, by the way, that if you're like, I really want to refresh that free for 12 months, you have to create a new account for that. So just know that, if you're like, I've been using this account and, some of the services are no longer free because the 12 months have expired because I've had that account for a year, you can always just launch a new account if you want to. And since you all are following good DevOps practices and using infrastructure as code and repeatable infrastructure, I'm sure you won't have any problem recreating your labs and your tests inside of a new account. That was a little bit of sarcasm. We do teach a lot of infrastructure code and DevOps practices. So, I hope you're following those. So again, don't forget the free tier available to anybody who starts an account. Remember that the first 12 months, there's some free services. After that, there's just a few things that are always free. So a general skim about the general dimensions of pricing. What about tools for billing? What if you hear, especially in like the blogosphere and stuff, some of the horror stories about like, well, hold on, someone got, slapped with an amazing AWS bill. By the way, that usually happens for people who start things and then leave them running without understanding that they're running in their account. But how do you get information about what's going on in your account? Well, one way to do that is that we're going to talk about a couple of tools, including a notification system that will let you know when you're over your budget for your account. The AWS budgets in particular, which is going to be the last thing we talk about, I highly recommend that when you set up your own account, that you set up AWS budgets immediately. But let's talk about it. So the first thing to know is that the general billing dashboard inside of AWS is actually really good. It's not super detailed. You wouldn't use it for like deep data collation or finding out that millionth of a penny if you're doing like financial transactions. But here you can see that it's actually pretty detailed just from what we're showing you right here. You can see that it covers like the services. It shows you where you're running them, and you can even see that like it shows the region. Like there's US East running, and if I had US, there's US West down there as well. And you also see US East 2, which is Ohio. So you can actually tell what you're running where across the entire world just by looking at your bill. So that's one of the great tools with AWS, is that the billing dashboard is actually a great place to start when you're trying to investigate like what's going on with my bill. Where am I spending money? Where is this happening at? The other thing to consider is that it does like show the events and kind of like what you're consuming and what were the events. Like in this particular case, it's looking at CloudTrail. So it captured here 47,330 events. So just know it does, capture that level of detail as well. Now, if you need to get down a little bit more into the details, or particularly, if you have multiple accounts using consolidated billing, and consolidated billing, by the way, is a way of getting multiple AWS accounts to feed to one biller account, and it's a part of AWS Organizations, which is a service that allows multiple AWS accounts to consolidate up. So here in this particular case, we're just showing a single account, and you can actually see that in this particular case, it's Skill Builder that's showing up. But you can see that I started the Elastic File System there in April of earlier this year. And so as you add services, you'll see different colors. And beneath this, what happens is that you get to see a certain granular level of detail. Pardon me just one second. Certain granular level of detail where you can actually break down each service and its cost. And you start to see a hint of it where it says total cost, and you see Skill Builder. But the Cost Explorer is another visual tool that allows you to show dashboards about what's going on with your costing and your billing. Now, the other thing is something that we affectionately call the CUR, which is actually the cost and usage report. That's actually what it is. And it's a report that runs and it puts out into an S3 bucket. And it's basically this super detailed Excel spreadsheet that looks a little something like this. And some of you may be looking at that going, whoa, Forrester, what are you doing? But it basically allows you to see every single thing you were charged in detail by account, by linked account, by date, and the different record IDs. And, one of the things I hear most often is like, well, oh, wow, AWS really charges you for a bunch of things. And the truth of the matter is that if you're running your own data center, just know that you are actually probably also paying for those things. You're just not seeing it get surfaced to you. That's one of the shocking things sometimes about AWS. It's like, hold on, wait, I'm paying for, power and cooling and billing. It's like, yeah, you are for your own data center as well. You're just not seeing it because they don't have the mechanisms to show you. But the CUR report, the cost of usage report, really shows you deep dive into everything you're being charged for. So this is great for that deep level analysis that the CFO wants, where they want to see exactly which line item goes to which project. This is perfect for that. Now, that being said, last but not least is one of my favorite tools, and one of the ones that I recommend that you use when you set up an account is AWS Budgets. And as you can see here, there's a number of budgets that have been set up into this account, and they're all low dollar. Like you can see it kind of in that middle column where it says $12, $15. The overall budget for the entire thing is $100, right? And the thing to know here is that monthly EC2 budget, which is set at 30, is currently at 29. And so in the forecasted amount is set for 41. You can see it at $40.99 right there. And the point being is that Budgets is going to send you a notification and say, hey, by the way, you are forecasted to go above your budget. And so I highly recommend that at the very least, you go in when you start a free account and just set up AWS Budgets and set up what your number is. What is your number? Like, this is my demo account. And so if I spend more than $100 on this, then I've probably done something wrong, because AWS, has since we have a relationship with AWS, I get, free credits for this account, right? So something's gone horribly awry if I've gone over $100. And so regardless of what your costs are as far as credits and whatever, put a budget on there. Make sure you've got your number. If that number is $10 USD, put that in there. If it's $5, that's fine too. The point being is that you can immediately set up a notification that says, hey, you're on track to go above the number that you're comfortable with. That's what Budgets is used for. Now, at enterprise level, this is obviously useful when you have a project and you don't want to go above a certain budget. You can set those notifications. And in some cases, by the way, just so you know, you can't actually switch budgets to actually limit you, but that's beyond the scope of Cloud Practitioner, so we're not going to dive into that. Okay. That all being said, we're now going to talk about support. Okay. And again, this is going to be a high-level skim, but there's actually some surprises in here that a lot of people aren't aware of when it comes to the options for support inside of AWS. So, the one thing about this interesting about support is that people are always shocked that, you do actually get basic support just by creating an account. But basic support is kind of like the support where it's like, yep, you can open up some web cases. We might get back to you, but for the most part, you're just stuck with forums and documentation. We're not going to basically give you, we're not going to give you a lot of no email support, no phone support, no SLAs, no technical. We're not going to give you anything else. And, you'll have a few trusted advisor checks, but we're not going to really support you. Just kind of support yourself. And then there's the developer level where you go from this seed, which is what you see in the basic level, to this kind of seedling. And yes, we're now talking about plants for those of you who are tracking the car conversation earlier. And what happens here is that you get everything that you got in basic support. So unlimited web cases, but no phone and all this other stuff. And you're still only on web support. But the difference is that since you are paying a little bit of money here, AWS will give you about 24 hours for general questions. And if you've got a problem, they'll get back to you in 12 hours. Now, is this suitable for production support? You probably know the answer to that, which is absolutely not. But it is here in case you're doing a POC or messing around on AWS and you want to move things forward. You can do that. Then we move into what is kind of more serious for a business or enterprise who's actually running things inside of AWS, which is that we've got business support. So everything in developer, production workloads, it's the lowest tier that has all the trusted advisor checks. Remember I said that, by the way, that the business support plan is the lowest tier that has all of the trusted advisor checks, because that might be on the exam. You get access to the support API in Slack, support 24/7 on phone and web. And, you do get some production. Like if production's down for an hour, you get an SLA for that. You don't get dedicated account manager or like a dedicated support team, but it is kind of the first of the serious business plans. And then you can, by the way, add additional services. Like if you want to add managed services to business, this is the first one where you can kind of do that. There's kind of like a la carte things that you can add to your business plan if you're willing to pay for them. And then we go to what is a relative new development. So we've gone beyond our seeds and our seedlings. So we get a small tree, and this is Enterprise On-Ramp. Now, Enterprise On-Ramp was added within the last few years, and basically what it is, it's Enterprise Lite. It's for people who want to kind of kick the tires, experiment, try out, if you will, enterprise support, but they don't want to necessarily pay the upper tier of enterprise. They were like just getting started with AWS. They want to see. And so in this case, by the way, you would get incident management. You would get serious SLAs, like 30 minutes for a business critical system. And you get access to a pool of technical account managers. It is obviously the second most expensive tier. But if you have mission critical workloads and 30 minutes is an acceptable SLA for you, this is great. And last but not least, once we go beyond kind of, the Enterprise On-Ramp and Enterprise, just as a mention, is that both Enterprise On-Ramp includes access to a pool of technical account managers, but Enterprise gives you access to a dedicated, what we call TAM, or technical account manager. This is a single point of contact for your account with AWS, who works for AWS, and they are a facilitator of everything from you talking to product teams, primary point of contact. They can provide architectural guidance, facilitate issues and requests. I've had this 3 times in my career where I've worked for a company that had enterprise support, and I got to tell you, it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And I would tell you if it was horrible, it was amazing. So, if you're working for a company that has enterprise and gets the dedicated TAM, and so you've got the full tree at this point in time, it's just absolutely spectacular to have that. And, again, it does come with a price tag, but these are the various levels of support, right? You go from basic to developer to business to Enterprise On-Ramp to enterprise. Okay. And so again, everything I just said, you've got all the stuff that you had in business, all the stuff that you have in Enterprise On-Ramp. You got proactive reviews, but this time your SLAs are 15 minutes for mission critical systems. And you have a private dedicated TAM who, for the most part, hops on every call you have, no matter what time of day you have, and acts as a facilitator. So like if you want to talk to the product team for Lambda and find out what Lambda is doing for the next 6 months, and again, don't take that as permission, but in many cases, those are the kind of things that can happen once you have enterprise support in that contact. Okay. So I promised we would only take 20 minutes for this, and it looks like we're right at 20 minutes on the dot as far as talking about those topics. I hope that gives you a good preview of what's in the Cloud Practitioner course for billing and pricing. So I'm now going to pass it back to Sanjeev to do a little practice exam facilitation.
Whoops, was on mute. So yeah, as Michael said, we're going to be doing a couple of practice questions just to kind of reinforce some of the topics that we've covered, and just to get you guys prepared so that you guys can see what kind of questions you might see on the Cloud Practitioner certification exam. But we'll start off with the first question. So in which scenario is on-demand instance pricing the best fit for AWS customers? A, you have workloads for a fixed budget and a limited resources. B, for predictable workloads with a set schedule. C, for workloads that require a dedicated instance for extended periods of time. And D, for workloads with fluctuating demand and unpredictable spikes. So if you guys want to take a guess, go ahead and just post it in the comments, and we'll see if you guys can get this question. All right. Looks like some of you guys are looking at option D. And so, if we go through the options, right, and especially when it comes to on demand, that's really for like being able to spin something up on demand and then being able to shut it down when you need to. So if you take a look at the first answer, for workloads with a fixed budget and limited resources, that doesn't sound correct. For predictable workloads with the set schedule, usually you wouldn't need to utilize on-demand features in that case, because if it's predictable, then you would want to go with one of the more cost-effective plans where you can have it running for a longer set period of time. Workloads that require a dedicated instance for extended periods of time, that's most likely not it. So looks like you guys got the right one. It's for workloads with fluctuating demands and unpredictable spikes. That's the whole idea behind on demand. Right, whenever you need it, you can scale up, and then whenever you no longer need it, you can scale it back down. Go to the next question. All right, you want to take this one, Michael?
Absolutely. Okay. So we just covered this briefly, right? What is the highest support level provided by AWS for its services? Now, of course, you pay for that, but it is the highest level. So, A, B, C, or D? Is it A, business support, B, enterprise support, C, basic support, or D, developer support? What do we think here? Make your best informed, educated, and deductive guess. Good. So I see a lot of options and answers put in there, but predominantly it looks like a bunch of Bs. So let's take a look. So I just went over this. And so obviously we start with basic, and then we get to developer, and then we get to business, and then we get to enterprise on-ramp, and then we get to enterprise. So in this particular case, enterprise is actually the answer. It is the highest or most supported level for support with AWS. All right, back to you, Sanjeev.
All right, so next question. What is the benefits for utilizing pay-as-you-go pricing on AWS? A, pay only for compute, storage, and other resources you use. B, ability to receive discounts on unused resources. C, fixed monthly costs regardless of usage. Or D, unlimited usage for all AWS services. So, I mean, this one, I think you guys can probably get this one. It's pretty easy. It's almost in the name. And I see a lot of people still saying B. I'm not sure if that's for the previous question. Okay, I think that's most likely for the previous question, but we've got a couple of people guessing A. Somebody with a W. I don't know if that's for win. But yeah, I mean, so when it comes to pay as you go, the whole idea is that you pay for the resources that you use, and then once you're done using the resources, you no longer need them, and you're no longer paid for them. Really, one of the main benefits of utilizing AWS and the cloud in general.
Excellent.
So A was correct.
Okay. Okay, so I'll take the next one. Is that I mentioned this in passing. You heard me say it verbally, but it wasn't on the slides. Is what is consolidated billing in AWS? So now we're on to the next set. So again, is it A, is consolidated billing a feature that applies a discount to the billing of a single AWS account? Is it a feature that allows billing in different regions and currencies? That'd be cool, but I think they already allow for that. C, is it a feature that bills different services separately for each AWS account? Or D, is it a feature that allows multiple AWS accounts to be billed together as a single entity? Take your best guess, your most informed guess. What do you think it is? A, B, C, or D? Good. You don't hear a lot of talk about consolidated billing nowadays because it used to be this standalone feature, which I believe actually you can still activate, particularly on older accounts. But it's now part of AWS organizations, which just basically inherently does consolidated billing by basically allowing you to see the bill for all of your kind of like linked accounts back to one bill. So it's not A, because it's not a discount to a single account. It's definitely there's no necessity for allowing billing in different regions and currencies, because I believe that's already happening depending on where your headquarters are located. A feature that bills different services separately for each AWS account, that would be kind of a nightmare. So hopefully not that one. So it really is D in this particular case. Consolidated billing allows you to take all those disparate accounts and bill towards one biller account, and the bill shows up there. So all of your billing tools that are run in that consolidated biller account will show every other linked account that touches it. So it is D. Good. I see some funny comments about making better choices. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Sanjeev, it's all yours.
All right. So for the last question, guys, which of the following scenarios best fits for using spot instance pricings for EC2 applications and workloads? A, workloads that require a consistently high level of compute resources and need to run for an extended period of time without the risk of being interrupted. Workloads that require high throughput, low latency network connections and need to run for a short duration. C, workloads that can tolerate interruptions, have flexible start or completion times, and require large amounts of compute resources at low cost. Or D, workloads that are predictable and consistent and required a fixed set of compute resources and need to run for a predetermined period of time. So what do you guys think? All right. So I think it looks like both of you guys have answers this with the why instance. This you AWS might have the time, so that capacity is going to be for it's really predictable. Right there, you already know for workloads that don't consistently run for that interruptions once the capacity. So the best answer is probably C, where we can tolerate interruptions, have flexible structure, require large resources at a lower cost.
Two things from remembering what you just like responses are workload interruptions. The question there, excuse. Well, kind of use you got an toleration. So this is one of those old questions talked away just with understanding the probably. Okay, so well, just know that you mentioned before is that we already have general monthly see that regularly. We have a very thriving YouTube channel. Also, just an AWS. So, catch up with it if you can. Like any comment would you like to see next? Because our live stream. So, let us know. We are very, very open and available for requests. Okay. A lot of people very interested in, which is the special announcement. So let's talk about special announcement. So as last time, it's the same as it was before. We're going to actually students who have completed the AWS KodeKloud. The 100% completion rate score could be misleading, but it's really 100% rate. Again, with a plus score. So an earlier about is it percent, and the answer is yes. So just know if it's not look at. So there's a few steps. The steps to here, right? Announce it within the next week, and then you're gonna enroll course past that 100%. And then 9 plus. So you're gonna get 100%, 5% in the course, and then you're gonna broadcast social media thread. We have taken, and then completion. See the QR right here. Connect to the giveaway. So what that means is that roll and get 100% completion rate, on the screenshot of your achievement on social media, fill out, and you're going to give us a link, the link, and then you're going to get included in our draw for $5, and you're going to get a voucher to AWS. So 5 steps. By the way, it looks something like this. When you click that link, just the one QR code button and to fill and KodeKloud.com. So we're going to put an email address, gender, right? You want to use the you use to plug in KodeKloud. Do something your link and you're going to put link is you use Twitter, was it Threads? I call that was it post it, just show us, give us an idea. And so just reminder, those steps you're already doing to enroll and learn. You at 95%, you broadcast your media, fill out that last. Before I go forward, just are we good with our issues? It seems like it's okay. Move on of what winners are. Okay. All right. So here we go. The announcers. This is an announcement for winners who were here and participated. Step last week, we've got the 5 winners. So our drum roll is now 3, 2. Last week's winners are listed right here. So we've got Muhammad Ali, right? We've got Shrikant Mukala. And all of you ideally already because you should have an email from us that confirmed you had won my voice and letting you know what the next are in order for you to get access to your and whatnot. We may already have actually, but just letting you know that they're the winners for last week's. So be aware that you still have a chance to win. Those 5 steps that I just talked about, if you're on this live stream now, you still have a chance. So just know that you can go out there, complete 100%, get a 95% on the mock exam, post it on social media, fill out the form, and you will be included in the pool of people in which we'll pick 5 at random, and we will announce those winners at either our next monthly KodeKloud update on YouTube and our monthly update for AWS. So there'll be plenty of reinforcement to make sure that you are aware of who has won the next 5 vouchers for the Cloud Practitioner exam. Good. I hope that came through clearly. It seems like the audio has cleared up, so that's good. And so congratulations to those 5 winners. Good job, by the way, doing that. I know it was not a minor effort to do. So we're looking forward to the next 5 winners next week. Okay, now the floor is open to ask any questions. We're going to take the next 5 minutes because we promised that we wouldn't keep you over 45 minutes. We're going to take the next 5 minutes to answer any questions. And so, Sanjeev, if you've seen it on the stream, let me know. Otherwise, I'm also going to go and take a look and see if there's any questions that I saw at the beginning. But meanwhile, feel free to ask where we are watching. Let's see.
I'm not sure if it's the same Christian, but it looks like he might be on the stream as well, one of the winners.
Oh.
So congrats to him if that is you.
Yeah, congratulations. Was it Christian Molina?
Yeah.
Perfect. Christian, congratulations. We're glad you're on. Yeah. That begs the question. Just so you know, I just want to make sure that it's clear, is that unfortunately, you can't win twice. We're not going to give you 2 vouchers. So just be aware that if you are a winner, you will be excluded from the next drawing. Of course, you've already taken the course. So, just so you know, you can't submit twice, just so you're aware. Okay. Let's see. One of the earlier questions that I saw was Akshay, I believe Kumar, was asking, is the content updated with the latest exam changes? So let me speak to that in 2 parts. One, we are continually looking at the exam and making sure that as AWS makes minor changes to the exam, those are folded into the Cloud Practitioner exam. But specifically, for those of you who haven't taken the exam yet, just know that as of September 18th, that is your last day to take what is affectionately known as version 1 of Cloud Practitioner. So CLF 01, but it's actually not version 1, it's actually version 2. But ignore that I said that. So it's version 1, right? So just know also that there's a new version of Cloud Practitioner coming out, and it's nicknamed CLF 02, which is like, I guess, AWS shorthand for the new version. So CLF 02 is coming out, and your first day to take it is September 19th. KodeKloud will be releasing about a week ahead of time a version. That's our plan right now, is to release a version that updates. So we are going to be updating it. And, there's a video that's going to come out that's going to talk about the differences and changes between CLF 01 and CLF 02. So you're going to see that as well. But basically, the things to take away from it will be covered in that video. But, there's going to be some shifts in security questions, some shifts in some service coverage. Oddly enough, AWS is making the exam just a little bit bigger. So if you want the details on that, catch us in our YouTube video that's about to come out for that purpose. And keep an eye on us, because you will see a new version of the Cloud Practitioner course coming out here within the next few weeks. So actually, I hope that answers your question. Let's see. There was a question about, do we record these? Just so you know, since this is on a YouTube and LinkedIn live stream, you can always go to our YouTube channel and click on the live tab for KodeKloud, and you can actually find the link to the previously recorded videos. So if you're even interested in previously recorded episodes, you can find them there as well. Let's see, other questions. Juan Carlos, that's a good technique. Yeah, we use that a lot. You were mentioning that email addresses, if it's Gmail, MSN Live, and Yahoo, I believe, if you add a plus sign after your name, you can create a kind of this mock fake email address. Yeah, that's a pretty cool technique. All right, let's see. Any other major questions here? Sandy, do you see any that you want to answer?
Scrolling through, I don't see any other questions. Just do want to point out that maybe we should just give an exam voucher to Neeraj so his wife doesn't break up our audio again.
Yeah.
Might be a good tip.
Good luck with that. Let's see. Actually, yeah, you reposted your question. That's good. Let's see. Amar, just to check, wasn't it supposed to be the first 5 students who finished? The idea is that we wanted to level the playing field a little bit, because there might be some people who have already worked on the exam, right? So Amar, we actually shifted it so that it's actually a random 5 people, so that people who are just getting into the exam, maybe people have already done it. So then that way it's not a speed run for those who may have already taken it. So we kind of level it out a little bit, Amar. So I hope that answers your question. Good. All right. Well, since we're coming down to the last minute, we're still open to the floor for questions, and you're more than welcome for the information. If there's more things that you'd like to see from us, please let us know. And do note that we really appreciate you joining us for these learning journeys. It's kind of the reason why we do this work. And please subscribe to our channels, all of them. Stay up to date, stay connected with us. And we are very receptive to feedback. So anything that you might share with us or anything you might ask, who knows, we might get right on that. So just let us know. Okay, check in one last time for any questions. And I think we're there. All right, thank you again so much for joining us. We're looking forward to catching you either live on YouTube, on our next YouTube videos, or whatever our next live stream is. So please leave comments, leave feedback, subscribe, hit that like button, let us know, and we'll catch you online. Take care, everybody.